Okay, so I've compiled the list of my top 5 least favorite to conclude this. And yeah, some of you might have, all two of you probably have been wondering what my least favorite are, especially after maybe watching my most favorite. Um, and yeah, so in this video I hope to explain my top 5 least favorite films of all time. And yeah, this is gonna be a little bit painful for me, because I get a little emotional at movies. Now, with the first one, some of you may not agree with my list, but remember, this is my favorite and my least favorite. Some of these movies you might say, well, that was really well made and stuff, and I enjoyed it, but I can't stand it for reasons that I'll get into. So, with that, let's begin.
Step your game up. Step your game up.
Number 5.
Well, it's the late great fish again from the great state underneath Lake.
Directed by George Lucas. So, alright. Now, from what I've heard, most people don't have too much of a problem with this movie, at least on the internet. Some people don't even think this is the worst George Lucas film, of course. I have admittedly never seen the prequels or Howard the Duck. But, this is the worst film of his that I have seen. And I recently watched it also in my film history class, and it is just so boring and dumb. Like, oh man, it's hard to explain how bad this is. Now, bear in mind, when I'm explaining how bad this is, I was very hesitant to put it on the list, even as number 5, but it's mainly because I couldn't think of anything else that was even close to the leagues of the top 4. But I had to add a 5th one, and this is the top contender. So, yeah. So, one of my main problems with the movie is that it has, like, it has some of the worst direction I have ever seen. I watched a documentary, and from what I could tell, like, George Lucas, when he was directing it, when he was hiring the cast members and stuff, he barely spoke a sentence to them during the interview process. Like, like they were talking to all the people, like, oh, what was it like when you were interviewed? All of them were like, oh, he was just like, how do you like this? And then ushered them out, and they got hired. Like, and then when he's shooting the scenes, he purposely waited for them to make mistakes. Uh, Like, I, I'm honestly thinking he purposely made a bad movie when he made this. Be- because there are just so many glaring problems in it that it seems as if he purposely made. Not only that, but if you've ever seen the trailer for this movie, American Graffiti, the original trailer, it is the laziest trailer I've ever seen. Remember when I talked about Creature, how his trailer was kind of dumb and lazy and stuff and like forgettable? This this trailer for American Graffiti is literally a minute and a half of raw uncut footage from the movie. Yeah, somebody took a minute and a half of footage and that's the trailer. I'm not even sure they added like titles in there. That's the trailer. That is bullshit. I don't care what kind of effect you're going for. That is just the laziest piece of crap I have ever seen for a trailer. And, like, how can you expect people to want to watch that? I saw that and I'm like, what the hell was that? It's just some people driving around in cars talking about nothing. And from what I can tell, people actually watch this. Watch this. Like, literally, it just showed you, in that trailer, it showed you every possible problem with the movie, because it just showed the minute and a half of clip. And people still watched it? The only redeemable factor in this movie is probably soundtrack that they have blaring in the background 24/7, and even then, that is not nearly enough to save this movie from, like, the catastrophe that is it. From what I can tell, George Lucas didn't even want lighting in there. He didn't even want actual lighting, but the camera crew forced him to. Like, if it were up to him, we'd be watching, like, barely visible footage, and that's it. And all the people in there are so bland and unlikable, and it's so stupid, too. Like, the premise is stupid. Admittedly, if you like cruising, then good for you, but I don't think he was even trying to portray it in a good light. Like, he was portraying it as dumb. I could actually, like, if I think about it, I could actually think of some benefits of cruising. If you don't know cruising, it's basically driving your car around, showing it off around the streets and stuff. You know, I know, like, I can see how that might be fun, but the way this movie portrays it as a bunch of assholes who have no homes, from what I can tell. Nobody ever goes home or goes to work at all throughout this entire movie. From what I can tell, it's just a bunch of assholes with limitless spending power who just go around talking about stuff. Like, there's movies that do this. There's movies that have no real plot. It's just a bunch of stuff happening one after another, like Napoleon Dynamite or The Breakfast Club. But the thing is, there's character in there. There's something to be interested in. And that in frickin' American Graffiti, there's nothing. There is nothing to enjoy about it besides the soundtrack. And that's just crap. I, I can barely believe that the same guy who made this was responsible for the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars trilogy. I can barely believe it. The only thing I can assume is that maybe maybe a bunch of more confident people helped them make Star Wars, because, god damn it, American Graffiti is so bad. So, yeah. And, and some of you might still be wondering, like, wait, so the other four movies are worse than this? Yes! I still don't think American Graffiti is in quite the ballpark as the other four movies that I'm going to mention. So, yeah, I best get to them then. So, yeah.
Oh, does he go to Turlock High?
Well, he used to. He goes to JC now.
Do you go to JC?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow. Do you know Guy Phillips?
Step your game up.
Number 4.
Step your game up.
Hello, may I help you?
Yeah, could I get the double quarter pounder with cheese meal?
Larger Supersize.
I think I'm gonna have to go supersize.
I have seen this godforsaken movie no less than 5 goddamn times. And every single time it gets worse. Every time. And I didn't like it much the first time I saw it. But yeah, 5 different classes showed it to me. I never saw it on my own free will. 5 different classes just felt they needed to show it to me, to show me the evils of McDonald's. Which, personally, I didn't need to know. I never ever eat at McDonald's. I don't like what they do to the rainforest. I don't like, I don't like how their food smells. I would never eat there. But, god damn it, this movie is terrible! Like, it's almost hard to explain in words how much I hate this movie. I'm gonna have to try. Alright, let's start off with the main guy. The main guy is an unlikable, liberal bullshit asshole. Okay? I still found no redeemable likeness to him. Like, and then the idea of the film was meant to show his progression, like, after eating all this McDonald's, that, he becomes, like, horribly sick and stuff, and, like, it tones down his mood and things. But, and I know it's a documentary, but you think we should like the host of our documentary a little? Maybe? No, he's just some dick with like, some cabbage-eating dick and stuff, you know? And God, I hate him. I hate him so much. And yeah, the idea of the film is that he goes around, he eats nothing but McDonald's 3 times a day. From what I've read on the thing, there's actually a lot of controversy around the whole thing. Not because the McDonald's poisoned him and stuff, but because he supposedly ate more than what he said. I don't know if this is true or not, but I read on a few things that the guy was eating like something like 6 meals a day. Like, and eating 6 meals of anything a day would make people sick. And yeah, honestly, I could believe it. I think, like, just by like listening to that guy, I could believe that guy would just be a douchebag to make up facts so he could have something he wants to happen, which is freaking bullshit to me. But not only that, but god damn. God damn. Like, was that movie even necessary, really? I mean, who would actually be stupid enough to eat a McDonald's 3 times a day? You know? Like, when you eat a McDonald's, I personally don't eat there, but like, the reason for eating McDonald's is usually because it's cheap. It's cheap, and I guess some people think it tastes good. Alright? And it is clearly known, like, he mentions in that movie that, like, the nutritional effects are never shown to people and stuff. I'm like, if you honestly think that the crap at McDonald's, even before that movie, if you honestly thought that the crap that they served at McDonald's was good for you, then you're an idiot. Alright? I mean, look at it! Who could honestly think that, like, one of those things, uh, like, is good for you? You eat that because it's cheap, because you can't afford anything else, or something like that. Like, if you're honestly eating that several meals a day, you clearly don't give a shit about your health. Alright? And, like, the movie, it's called Supersize Me, because, like, one of the things he does is that whenever anybody asks if he wants to supersize it, he does. And to me and, like, because, like, oh, you don't need to eat those portions and stuff. Like the thing is, like, the supersize is too big for people to eat and stuff. The thing is, let them decide that on their own, you jackass. Like, that's what I hate about people like that. Like, he's one of those people that was like, you're too, that guy thinks that you're too dumb to make your own health choices. He thinks that everyone else in the world is so dumb that they don't know how to eat right. Like, they just completely don't know. And he thinks that he actually has to tell you that those portions are too big. Yeah, no shit. No shit, they're too big. If you honestly cared about your body, you wouldn't eat that. Alright? You don't need some jackass to tell you. But, God, I hate him. And yeah, apparently after he showed it, like, they got rid of the supersize thing. But the thing is, it's your money. People should be able to decide what they want with their money. Okay? If you wanna spend like $4 on a giant ass hamburger to eat every other day, then fine, do it. Okay? I think the only legitimate thing he maybe brought up was the nutritional facts. I mean, yeah, I mentioned before that it's obvious they're not healthy for you, but maybe people don't. But I take that back a little because maybe people don't know just how unhealthy it is for you. That is probably one of the only things that he actually has a point about, that nutritional effects aren't shown. But still, like, who would honestly think that, oh yeah, you'd be fine after eating, like, that 3 meals a day? It'd be like eating top ramen 3 meals a day. There's nothing good can come out of that, and you know nothing good can come out of that. It's proving something that people already knew, and it's proving something that people already knew, and just giving you a crappy time about it. I don't know who would actually watch this movie for fun, by the way. I think its only use is for health classes, where they force you to sit down and watch to educate our youth and stuff against the evils of McDonald's. I'm still not sure how they make money. I barely know anyone who goes there, but damn. Yeah, that's basically all my reasonings for hating that movie so much. It wouldn't be so high on this list if I had only seen it maybe once, but considering I've seen it like 5 times, I've seen it plenty of times to know just how bullshit it is. Alright. And yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Supersize me.
Make it bacon.
Supersize me.
Step your game up.
Number 3.
Step your game up.
Kendra?
What?
There's someone out there!
Front door open.
Someone's
Front
in the
door
house!
Open.
Okay.
Front door
Okay.
open.
They broke in!
Just stay
Shower
calm.
door
I want you to stay
open.
calm.
Underwear drawer.
Shut the hell
open.
up!
No need for that, bitch.
I'm not going to go into too much detail about this one, because if you've seen my Scary Movie 5 review, you already know everything that there is for me to hate about it. But, yeah, it's just a total ruination of the Scary Movie franchise. Like, a lot of people don't like them. Like, a lot of people don't like the Scary Movie franchise. I recently saw Doug Walker's, nostalgia critic editorial on his Satire is Dead, about, whether all these stupid epic movie and Scary Movie 5s, like, if they've ruined satire forever and stuff. And one of the movies he mentions is the original Scary Movie. And though he doesn't say it out loud, admittedly, but he does seem to have some negative connotation towards Scary Movie. Personally, I love it, and I love Scary Movie 2 as well. It's dumb, gross humor, but it's dumb, gross humor done well. It's done as well as dumb, gross humor can be, and it's enjoyable for people in my age group, I'm going to admit. For, like, young college to, like that kind of area, like, that's, like, it's funny. And then, it's just ruined. First the 3rd movie, and then the 4th, and then the 5th, which was unbelievably bad. Like, it was bad on a fundamental level. They're trying to, I have never had so many jokes that didn't work in a row. I think if you played a drinking game, like, here's a drinking game that'll keep you sober throughout the movie. Take a drink whenever they withhold trying to make you laugh for 5 seconds. You will not, that liquor will never touch your lips if that's the drinking game you go with. Because what these people somehow think is that the more references, the more jokes they put in there, the funnier it'll be. But instead, they're all overlapping and just confusing. I think you might remember, but I was sitting there dumbfounded, like, the entire time. Like, I could barely believe what I was watching. Like, what is this? What is this? What is my favorite? What has one of my favorite series become? Like, the first two movies were great, and then dead, gone, and they're gonna make another, probably, and it's gonna be even worse. Or maybe it'll just go so down low that it has a roller coaster effect, and it comes up to a funniness level again, or maybe it becomes a guilty pleasure. I don't know. Honestly, I can barely understand the type of human that would find Scary Movie 5 to be enjoyable, and I pity you if you honestly do. And yeah, see my dire situation for that if you want any more in depth on there, but between right now and what I said then, I've basically said all my thoughts on it. So.
I've come back from worse than this. Scary Movie.
Step your game up.
Number 2.
Step your game up.
Call themselves the Goonies. They've stumbled onto a legend, but they're not alone.
Chunk, I hope that was your stomach. No.
Oh my! Glenn, what is it that you are doing? The Goonies? The Goonies is a much beloved film. It's considered a classic by many. It's referenced so much, and and it's on many different lists like AFI's comedies or whatever. And to that I say, you're an idiot. How? I just don't understand humanity at this point. How is this movie considered a classic? It's a children's film. It's edged towards children that features some of the most twisted, most terrible ideals of any kind of film that I have ever seen. Like, this is almost at the level of Clockwork Orange, but it's for kids somehow. Like that one scene where the fat kid, where they're putting his hand into the blender and stuff. How are you watching this and thinking this is a charming kids movie moment? That is something that you would see in like a freaking slasher film. But it's for kids. And that's probably the worst part about it. Like, if this was just some movie starring children that was meant for adults, like, then sure, why not? You know, it's an intriguing idea, but this was made for children, and it has so much terrifying imagery. It has probably the worst morals I have ever seen in a movie. Like, if you do, like, basically what this movie tells you is that if you do not like the situation that you are in right now, then you should risk your life to try and change it. And the thing is, if they had thought about it, then they're like, because the problem is that they're moving away because these rich people want to build a golf course where their houses are, a golf course on the hills. They want to build a new golf course there, and so the kids are moving out. And they have to find new homes elsewhere. Big fucking deal. You're not gonna be homeless. It's not like it's that bad. Like, they're just moving somewhere else. Maybe it'll be somewhere better. Who knows? But the thing is, this movie tells you change is bad. You must risk your life to prevent change from happening to you. Those kids risk their lives to get the money so they can prolong temporarily their, like, what's happening to their houses. And to be honest, this is mostly the parents' fault, you know, because it's unlikely that the government, that they got that much in debt because of the business. It's more likely that they were just terrible with their money. or you might be saying, well, I don't know, there's certain situations that, like, could lead to you being bankrupt and it's not your fault. And yeah, but to the entire town? That seems a little unreasonable. Like, I'm assuming that at least some of those kids, like, some of those parents were seriously just terrible with their money, and that's why they're losing their houses. And God, I can barely express just how terrible that is. I pity any child that watches this and is just getting all these things into their heads. Like, I saw this as a kid, and I wish I hadn't. Honestly, I wish that my mom didn't own that movie, so I didn't see it. Because it is so bad. It's not, like, bad in that, like, the people making it didn't care. It's bad in that I think the people making it were, like, Satanists. It was that bad. Those are the kind, like, the people who made it are, maybe not all of them. Maybe I'm being a little harsh. Maybe there are some people in there who honestly thought that, like, maybe they were making something inspiring or something, but, like, there's got to be some evil person in there who knew what they were doing, who knew what this movie was saying, and didn't care. That is one of the worst parts. And it's sickening. Like, it makes me almost feel physically sick to think of all those children back in the 80s watching this film, their parents letting them watch this film while it's doing that to them. And, like, I would never let my kids watch that film. I think I'd be a terrible parent to let my kids watch that film. And it's beloved as a classic? Not only is it, like, forgiven for these things, but it's loved as a classic. That's one of the worst parts. Like, there's many other films that are loved as classic that I disagree with, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I don't like that movie, but the thing is, it's displaying terrible ideals and stuff, but it's for teenagers. It's a little different. This one is geared towards kids. It displays ideals far worse than Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's given to children. And as I said, it's sickening. That's the least I can say about it. It is just plain sickening when I'm watching it. I just, like, I don't know. Why isn't... So, yeah.
Join the adventure as Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
Step your game up.
And my number one most hated movie of all time is... I can't tell you. Yeah, sorry. One of the unnecessary drawbacks is that, the thing is, Chadwick Jones. I'm going to do a Chadwick Jones on my least favorite movie of all time. It's the season finale. So, as you might have been paying attention, like, the movies are technically supposed to be getting worse and worse until he sees the worst movie he'll ever see in his life, and that is the worst movie I've ever seen. So the season finale of Chadwick Jones will be the worst movie I've ever seen, and he will go into detail about why. So you'll get full in-depth within a couple weeks when the season finale comes out. The only clue I can give is that the movie's name begins with a B, and that's it. So, yeah, man, I don't feel good after saying all these things. But, alright. I hope to get a dire situation up next week for, The Purge, I think it is. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and, yeah.
Step your game up. Step your game up. Well, it's the late great fish again from the